At 10, I have Desean Watson. Now, put all the allegations aside, which, of course, we understand what they are at this point. Desean Watson should be a lot higher on this list if we talk about talent in the last time we saw him play. Last time we saw him play in Houston, he was putting up career numbers. And when I say career numbers, I mean like historic numbers. The only thing was the numbers didn't equate to winning. Now, I have Desean Watson number 10 because, one, we haven't seen him play in like a year, and we possibly may not see him play for yet another year. We're still waiting for them to hand down the punishment from the findings that they got with the allegations. But when he's on the field, he should be a lot higher than number 10. The only problem is, like I said, you don't know what we're going to get out of Desean Watson, if we're even going to get Desean Watson this year. Now, that 10 spot was tough, man. You could have said Derek Carr, definitely. I would probably put at around 11. You can kind of say maybe Matt Ryan. Now, I understand that, the lack of winning in Atlanta definitely skews a lot of people's minds when we talk, or skews a lot of people's views of Matt Ryan. But Matt Ryan can be up there. Ryan Tannehill maybe. Kyle Murray, in my opinion, can be up there. But for number 10, I have Desean Watson, just because I remember exactly what he looked like the last time we saw him play. Now, yes, it's been a year, and it may be longer, seeing what the findings will bring. But at number 10, I have Desean Watson. At number 9, I have Joe Burrow. Now, I like to think that a lot of people, Joe Burrow's good. Don't get me wrong. Joe Burrow is, hell, I have him as a top 10 quarterback in the league. And Joe Burrow, one thing that I think helps Joe Burrow is his confidence. He goes into every game thinking that he is going to win. Now, we saw the incredible run that he had last year to the Super Bowl, beating the Tennessee Titans. He beat Patrick Mahomes. That was an incredible run. Don't get me wrong. Not to mention he beat Derek Carr in the wild card. I think that Joe Burrow benefits from playing with some all-world talent. He plays with Jamar Chase. He plays with Tyler Boyd. He plays with T. Higgins. He plays with Joe Mixon. He has a great supporting cast as far as elite talent. Now, one of the biggest problems that he suffered last year was, of course, the offensive line, which came back to bite them, especially in the Super Bowl against the Rams. I think that Joe Burrow is an incredible player. I think that Joe Burrow does. There are times when, he kind of overdoes it, which that comes from, a young career. I think he's going to get better. I think that in the next few years, I'll kind of touch on this later in the show. I think probably in the next couple of years we'll be arguing if Joe Burrow is a top 3 or 4 quarterback in this league, in my opinion. Maybe even the best quarterback in the league in a few years. But for right now, I have him at number 9. Number 8, I have Matthew Stafford. One of the biggest reasons why I have him over Joe Burrow is because he beat Joe Burrow in the NBA Finals, in the Super Bowl. People knew People knew Matthew Stafford was good. We also, it's kind of like how I say on this show all the time that fit matters, and we knew that Matthew Stafford was good. It was just he was playing for a poor division or a poor team in Detroit. There's nobody wins Detroit, like nobody. I don't think I was alive the last time Detroit had a team worth watching. Now, they've had some great players. They've had Barry Sanders. They've had Megatron. They've had some really good players. It's never equated into winning. And we knew that if Matthew Stafford just got to a competent team, got to a competent coach, got to a competent offensive line, competent wide receivers, he would be great. And what do you know? Matthew Stafford gets to the Rams. He wins the Super Bowl the first year. I mean, I do think that there are a lot of things that Matthew Stafford does, which is actually why he's number 8 in my list. there's a lot of things that he does that kind of holds him back. Like, he gambles a lot. The difference, in my opinion, between him and Jimmy Garoppolo is Jimmy Garoppolo gambles, but his gambles a lot of times he loses those gambles. He loses those 50-50s. Matthew Stafford, he gambles a lot, but it's also he also has a lot of winning plays, and he wins a lot of those gambles. Like, he'll throw a deep ball, and I mean, the most famous one that I can remember right now is against the 49ers when he threw the deep ball. It hit the dude, it hit the 49er player smooth in his chest, and he dropped the ball. That would have changed the complexity of the game, and that was the NFC Championship, I believe. So Matthew Stafford is good, though. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here bashing Matthew Stafford. I just think that he does gamble a lot. He's just successful in a lot of those gambles. And that's kind of why I have him number 8. Not to mention, when you talk about sheer talent, I think that this, 7 players that I have above him are just a slight bit better when we talk about sheer talent. However, though, Matthew Stafford does have a cannon of an arm. That's one thing that's in fact a lot of these most of these quarterbacks have. Desean Watson has a cannon of an arm. Joe Burrow, Matthew Stafford probably out of this whole list might have the second or third strongest arm as far as throwing the ball deep. So I have Matthew Stafford at number 8. Number 7, I have Russell Wilson. A lot of people, I understand the saying that you're only as good as your last game. You're only as good as the film that you put on tape. And the year did not end well for Russell Wilson. He got hurt. I think he broke his hand or broke his finger. He missed a couple games. I feel he rushed back a little too soon. He was off rhythm. He just didn't look good at all. The Seahawks didn't make the playoffs. It was not a good showing for Russell Wilson at the end of the season. But a lot of people forget what happened the beginning of the season. Now, let me remind you that Russell Wilson has been playing behind probably the worst offensive line in the league. Outside of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, he doesn't have that many skilled positions. Like, he doesn't have the most skill at the wide receiver position, at the running back position. Now, he has incredible skill at the running back position, but it always, Chris Carson, he gets hurt a lot. So with all that, not to mention the defense is poor. Outside of Jamal Adams, the defense is not that good. In my opinion, Russell Wilson was leading the charge for the MVP in the beginning of the season before he broke his finger. Russell Wilson, he has some of the he in my opinion, he has one of the best basket drop throws I've ever seen. And what that means is he's able to throw the ball up and it lands perfectly in the wide receiver's hands, or wide receiver's basket is what they call. I don't think I've seen someone to do that just as good as Russell Wilson. I do think that, now moving from the Seahawks to the Broncos, he has a lot to prove. They're kind of putting championship or bust on this Broncos team because it's kind of like Matthew Stafford going to the Rams from Detroit kind of changed the complexity of how we look at good quarterbacks going to good situations. And what I mean by that is now a lot of people expect, okay, so Russell Wilson, you go from a poor offensive line to a good offensive line in Detroit. You go from an inconsistent running game to a good running game in Denver. I didn't mean to say Detroit, in Denver. You go from, while yes, you have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, you have a tad bit more weapons in the wide receiver core. You have Judy, you have Sutton, you have some really good pieces. And the defense, in my opinion, is leaps and bounds better than the defense in Seattle. So a lot of people are putting championship or bust on this Denver team. I just believe that, and Russell Wilson knows that. Not to mention the fact that Russell Wilson understands that he's only been to 2 Super Bowls. He's only won 1. And with a person as talented as him, that's kind of an underachievement. Same thing we talk about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been to 1 Super Bowl. So, not to mention the fact, again, Russell Wilson was leading the way in the MVP vote before he broke his hand or finger. So I do think that the whole Let Russ Cook campaign, I do think that it's going to be successful this year, and I do think that we're going to see the best Russell Wilson possible. So I have Russell Wilson at 7. Number 6, I have Justin Herbert. Now look, Justin Herbert, he's probably one of the more sheer talented quarterbacks on this list. When I mean by sheer talent, I mean that there's a lot that goes into his talent. He has a cannon of an arm. He is a mobile quarterback. He also stays in the pocket. He's still young, though. And what I mean by that is he still has those inconsistent games. And that doesn't mean that he's bad. That doesn't mean that at all. What it means is there'll be games where, for instance, there's games like even though they lost the game, there's games like the last game of the season against the Raiders. He was incredible, throwing the ball left and right. It was one of the best games of the year last year. Now they ultimately lost, but I think that was more to clock management than anything else. But he has one of those games. He has one of those games where he looks like one of the most incredible players ever. I mean, even though they also lost this game, we also remember how he looked against the Cowboys. He has those games, but then he has those games like against the Ravens where he looked god awful. Now the whole team looked bad, but he looked god awful. Or you can have a half, like the first half of the game against Washington, he looked terrible. So I do think that the consistency, which also comes with time, which also comes with work, is going to get better. And if that gets better, we can talk about Justin Herbert arguably being the best quarterback in the league. That's how much talent I think he has. That's how much talent I think that he has a cannon of an arm. He can run. He can play in the pocket. He has the senses of a great quarterback, in my opinion. So I do think that, again, he needs to be a little more consistent. And when he does that, in my opinion, he'll just skyrocket and shoot up this list. But right now I have Justin Herbert at 6. Number 5, and this is where the controversy comes. I was talking about the controversy before I did my list. In the GM poll that I think Jeremy Fowler, if it wasn't Jeremy Fowler, I apologize to whoever actually conducted the list, but I believe it was Jeremy Fowler. In the GM's list that came out, they did not have Lamar Jackson in the top 10. They were talking about he regressed last year. They were talking about nearly all his numbers went down from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. They just didn't think that Lamar Jackson was a top 10 quarterback. Me, I have Lamar Jackson number 5. Let me put in this couple things into perspective. Last year, the Ravens by far had the most injuries in the league. They were decimated at running back. I mean, there's a reason why Devontae Freeman and Le'Veon Bell had to be on the team. They were decimated by injury at the running back position. They were decimated by injury on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, people forget Derek Wolfe barely played. I don't even think he did. Yeah, Derek Wolfe, I think, played maybe 1 or 2 games. Marcus Peters was out. Marlon Humphreys ultimately went out. They were decimated at every single injury. Hell, Lamar Jackson even got hurt. The Ravens, I don't know if it was like, when we talk about a black cat, they had a black cat last year in that organization when it comes to injuries. But even in that, when Lamar Jackson was healthy, he had the Ravens, again, the team that had the most injuries by far last year. He had them number one in the AFC. He was putting up some historic passing numbers, some historic running numbers. And again, hell, even his offensive line was injured. Lamar Jackson was proven that he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Now, again, I kind of think that they look at the total number of yards. They look at the total, like what happened at the end of the year. But again, he missed he missed the last few weeks of the season with a sprained ankle. Not to mention, and quiet as it's kept, I'll be real with you. One of the biggest reasons why people say, Lamar Jackson needs to play with a number one receiver is because there's a montage. You can go, there's a highlight tape and everything. You can go look it up on YouTube about how many times the wide receivers for the Ravens dropped passes. Hollywood Brown dropped so many passes. Rashard Bateman, he's still young. He should have a big leap this year, or they're hoping that he has a big leap this year. The wide receivers for the Ravens dropped so many freaking passes, and even still, Lamar Jackson had them number one in the AFC with the amount of injuries that they had. Not to mention the fact that the defense, even healthy, isn't that good. They're okay when perfectly healthy. When they're not healthy, like last year, they were terrible. I mean, Lamar Jackson has some great game. I mean, we remember the comeback that he did. Lamar Jackson was god awful. I was at this game. Lamar Jackson was god awful against the Colts the first half of the game. Then we remember the historic comeback that he had, and they ultimately won in overtime. We remember the incredible. I think it was like 4th and 19 that he had to complete against Detroit. Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, is a top. I mean, he's a former MVP. Lamar Jackson's a top 5 quarterback, in my opinion. I have him number 5. I think that, again, we're going to see. I mean, we did see that he bulked up. At least we see pictures of that. But we're gonna see. Lamar Jackson's gonna remind us just who the heck he is, and I'm excited to see this. I mean, Hollywood Brown's not there anymore. Now, we do still have Mark Andrews, who's one of the best tight ends in the league. The running game should be back. Dobbs should be back. I'm excited to see what this Ravens team is going to look like completely healthy. Calais Campbell should be back. I don't know if Derek Wolfe is going to be back yet, but I'm excited to see, and I'm excited for Lamar Jackson to remind people just who he is. So I have Lamar Jackson number 5. And yes, that's over Herbert. I mean, again, there's one thing that now outside of Matthew Stafford, who has a Super Bowl, there's one thing that Lamar Jackson has that each player, Herbert, Wilson, Stafford, Burrow, Watson, there's one thing that he has that they don't, and that is a Super Bowl. I mean, what am I talking about? That is a MVP. Stafford does have a Super Bowl, but Lamar Jackson has an MVP. So I have Lamar Jackson number 5. Number 4, I have Tom Brady. I have Tom Brady 1 because it's Tom Brady. I'm not going to disrespect Tom Brady. That there's a lot of legacy that goes with the Tom Brady pick at number 4. Also, Tom Brady he had an incredible season last year, which a lot of people were shocked, including myself, that he retired. Now, he did ultimately unretire about 40 days later, but he had one of the best seasons. There was a lot of people that thought he was good enough to be the MVP last year. I know that he now holds the record for the most passing yards in NFL history. I think in the season, passing Drew Brees, which, I mean, you pass Drew Brees in a passing stat, then something's good there. I do think that we're still going to get a good Brady. Now, Gronk not being there is big. Gronk is more like Gronk is not being there is big. However, you do have O.J. Howard. Chris Godwin's going to come, or supposed to be coming back. Mike Evans is supposed to be coming back. So you still have some pieces, and you still have some tough weapons. And you, of course, Leonard Fournette. Most of the team is coming back outside of Gronk, which I do think is big. Gronk not coming back, but I have Tom Brady at number 4 until I see someone written now. Matthew Stafford and the Rams did ultimately beat them in the playoffs, but Tom Brady is still Tom Brady, and I still have him at number 4. And number 3, I have Josh Allen. Josh Allen probably has the strongest arm in this entire list. Josh Allen, it's incredible to see the improvements that he's made over the years. Because if you remember, especially the first maybe year or two in the league, Josh Allen looked like a prime bust. Like he had one of them. He turned the ball over damn near the most. I think he had one of the worst completion percentages in the league at the time. That's like Josh Allen was god awful. And then you join. I forgot who the coach is, but at that point, I think it's Brian Daboll. I think you join the coach, you get them, and then now he has emerged as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, there was a time last year where he was leading the league or leading in the MVP vote. A lot of people have the Bills winning the Super Bowl this year because of how good he's been in his I guess improvements year after year. Now, the reason why I have him 3 is because I think there's 2 quarterbacks better than him. But Josh Allen, in my opinion, when you're building a perfect quarterback, like building when we talk about arm strength, when we talk about accuracy, when we talk about body, when we talk about height, Josh Allen is the quarterback that you create. He's accurate. He's strong. He's huge. He can run the ball. I mean, there's a montage of him, rushing touchdowns. Like Josh Allen is good, and he, to my opinion, he's the 3rd best. Now, again, from 5 to 1, maybe 6 to 1, because Justin Herbert you can throw in there. At any given day, they can be the best quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion. I mean, Lamar Jackson, again, he was the best quarterback for a good stint last year until he got hurt. Justin Herbert shows flashes that he can be great. Of course, we know about Brady, and Josh Allen is Josh Allen. Again, a lot of people have the Bills winning the Super Bowl this year because of how good Josh Allen is and because of just how good the team is. So I have Josh Allen at number 3. Number 2, I have Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people are I'm not going to say doubting, but questioning just how good Patrick Mahomes can be now that Tyreek Hill, who is one of the best wide receivers in the league, is not on the team anymore and with Miami. Let me. A lot of people. One thing that you're also hearing now is a lot of people are crediting Patrick Mahomes' greatness to Andy Reid. They're saying, if he went anywhere else, Patrick Mahomes wouldn't be this good. So they're pretty much crediting Andy Reid for how great Patrick Mahomes is. Let me just dispel a couple of things. Actually, I think that there is some justification in saying that Patrick Mahomes is as good as he is because he's paired with Andy Reid. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you look at every great quarterback outside of maybe 1 or 2, they're paired with an incredible coach. I mean, we look at the heydays of Ben Roethlisberger, and he had Mike Tomlin. We look at Tom Brady in the beginning of his career. He had Bill Belichick. Majority of his career, he had Bill Belichick, and even towards even with Tampa Bay, he had who he had. I think that there is something to be said that a quarterback's supporting cast does matter. Losing one of the top wide receivers in the league does matter. However, we're talking about Patrick Mahomes. Let's not forget that he has Travis Kelce, who is arguably, in a lot of people's opinion, including mine, the best tight end in the league. I mean, he led the league in receiving yards, I believe, last year. And he's a tight end. Let's not forget McCole Harmon is okay. You also have Juju Smith-Schuster. They have some pieces, and it's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, we remember the incredible game that he and Josh Allen had in the playoffs that, of course, Patrick Mahomes ultimately won. That was probably one of the best games I have ever seen in my life. Now, Patrick Mahomes is also a part of another great game that I've probably seen in my life, and that was when it was him and Jared Goff going up against each other. I think it was Monday Night Football. Patrick Mahomes is great. Patrick Mahomes has sheer talent that I don't think, sheer talent and instincts that a lot of quarterbacks don't have. And I do think, again, that not having Tyreek Hill, because let me not disrespect Tyreek Hill, bro. Tyreek Hill is still, again, one of the top wide receivers in the league. He is the fastest player in the league. Losing a player like that is huge. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. Like, we know this. But Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. And I do think that being with Aaron, I think playing for Andy Reid only enhances Patrick Mahomes' greatness. Not saying that I don't think he'd be as great if he played for a poor organization or for a poor coach, but playing Andy Reid unlocked something in Patrick Mahomes. So, and he's been a top quarterback since he started, you know. So, and again, let's not remember, he was a overtime away from being in yet another Super Bowl. So, I have Patrick Mahomes at number 2. And number 1, I have Aaron Rodgers. I know a lot of people don't like Aaron Rodgers. I get it from some of the things that he, some of the comments that he said, he makes, some of the ways that he goes about making decisions and how he announces said decisions. A lot of people don't like Aaron Rodgers. I get it. But he's coming off of winning winning consecutive MVPs, winning his 4th overall. Now, I do understand the criticism that he holds, which I agree with some of it, saying you can't keep winning MVP. Well, you can't keep winning MVPs. I think he's tied with the most MVPs in the regular season, tied with Peyton Manning, I believe. But you can't keep winning MVPs and flaming out in the playoffs. I mean, there was a lot of people that thought that they were good enough to win the Super Bowl. They should have. I mean, they were the number 1 overall seed. They were that good. It's just, and then you have a bye week, and then you lose the first game against the 49ers at home. So I do agree with the fact that I need to see more playoff success from Aaron Rodgers. I agree with that completely. And I want to say we need to see what he looks like now that Devontae Adams, who is arguably the best wide receiver in the league, is gone, playing with Derek Carr and the Raiders. However, this is still Aaron Rodgers we're talking about. A lot of people are saying that he is probably, sheer talent-wise, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. Not saying he is, but when we talk about the sheer talent and the package that he has, ooh, that didn't even sound right. Hold on. Pause. And the skills that he possesses, a lot of people are saying he could arguably the most skilled quarterback of all time. And he did nothing last year outside of the playoffs to dispel that. So I have Aaron Rodgers at number 1.